It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Thank you for tuning in to the Sean Widmer Podcast. Appreciated from this end of the thing. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hope you have enjoyed the podcast in general. If you are a longtime listener, if you're a new listener, thanks for tuning in. I'm Sean, and this is my journal. This is just my journal. We're all over the place with stuff. Sometimes we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. Sometimes we talk about sports. But most of the time, we kind of just talk about life. And today I've got life stuff for you because we're raising kids. But we start the podcast off in the ways we always do, thanks to the Patreon members, patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast, with you, the Patreon people, Camilo, Ryan, Jeremy, Roberta, Yvonne, Ian, and more. This podcast is possible. So thank you to the people who do that. If you have a couple bucks to throw at the podcast, if you like it, each month, I would very much appreciate it. It keeps the lights on in this thing. Also, we start the podcast off by reading I've said 3 multiple times, 5-star reviews on iTunes, which are so rare. And if there isn't one like there isn't today, I've got to come up with a shout out. And today I'm giving the shout out to Ryan, because Ryan texted me today, a Patreon member, Ryan. He texted me today and said, "Are you into Critical Role?" I need to read the text exactly. Here's what it said. "Are you a fan of Critical Role?" Which I am a huge fan of Critical Role. My brother and I love Critical Role. And it's an actual play RPG podcast. And so I'm a huge fan. So I responded, "Absolutely love it." And then that was it. That was it. It was just a text from Ryan saying, "Are you into something?" And it's something that I was so excited to talk about. Like, are you a fan? Where are you on the podcast? How far are you in? Have you listened forever? I'm dialed in and ready. And I just held my phone waiting for a response. Nothing. So just a couple minutes ago, I finally, this text was sent 3:30 my time. I responded immediately because I just live on my phone. And then I just texted him at 8:40 my time again. So that's 5 hours later, and said, "You?" So we'll see. So shout out to Ryan for baiting me, getting me excited, and then just leaving me all by myself when I answered, "Yeah, I love it." And then he was like, "Nerd." Okay, let's talk about life. What's going on here at the Widmer house? I think we need to start with where I'm at with my middle child, Huck, man, my oldest son. We have hit the stage. He's 2.5 years old, and the man has decided that it is time to be potty trained. And so my wife and I are discussing how this is going to happen. What's it going to look like? Huck has been difficult with a lot of things in life, so we're like, we're just dreading this potty training. So my wife has a couple of these potties that go, toilets that potties. Let's talk like we're two. A couple of these potties, one that goes in the living room, one that we keep in the basement, and they're just for little kids, and he can run over and use them. We used them for Olivia. They worked great. So we have 2 of them for Huck for different floors. We didn't need that with Olivia. Again, just an easier child. So my wife decides the other day we're going to go for it. We want to get him in undies. And so we begin this process of potty training right before school starts. Interesting timing, but whatever. My wife gets a big bag of M&Ms and goes, "Let's see if we can bribe him with M&Ms. If he goes to the bathroom, we'll give him an M&M." I think this is something that a lot of people have done, whatever that prize is for the kid for going potty. Hey, congratulations. Here's a reward. Let's promote it, and let's get this into a habit. So we're going day 1. We're like, there's no way this works. Huck has been so difficult with everything. Until now, of course, because we planned on him being difficult. The dude went potty, got an M&M, and then he was like, wait a second. That's all it took this whole time? That's all it took? Like, it worked for him. He was the ultimate child in this experiment. And now he's just, if he has to pee, he can't get to that toilet fast enough. If he's got to poop, he's there. He's locked in. I think with Olivia, it took us a while with some accidents here and there. Huck's like, get me there. Where's my M&M? And you only need to give him 1 M&M. Olivia also would negotiate. And she was like, I need to go potty, but I need to go potty 5 M&Ms worth. Huck's like, half of an M&M? Are you serious? I'll run across the state to find a bathroom and go potty. So it's been great. But with that comes something we didn't have to experience with my daughter. And it is always interesting to watch this with my buddies' wives who I've seen with their kids, with their boys, and now my wife. Because now Huck is trying to figure out how to go potty, and we've got the undies, so he knows take the undies off, run to the toilet. But for him, a lot of times it's just easier to know I'm going to have to go to the bathroom soon, so my undies are gone, and I'm just going to survive in the house until that feeling actually hits, and then I'm going to run to the toilet. So I got my shirt on, but everything else is off, and we're just hanging out. And like a lot of little boys, what's he doing the whole day? He's got we're hands-on. We are a hands-on family at this time. Sitting on the couch, hands-on. Running around, hands-on. Standing there waiting for the food to be ready, hands-on. Hands-on whenever he can get his pants off, which we want to promote that right now because we want to make sure we're focusing not on him wearing clothes, but more on let's get going to the bathroom locked in. So you give a little bit on the undies off just so we get this part down. Then when this part's down, we'll work onto the undies, and then he'll work on getting the underwear on and off easier. And that, the progression. But his undies are off. And so hands are on. And my wife cannot stop telling my son, get your hand off of that. Stop. Get your hand off of that. And he is at 2.5. He already knows. My wife, every time, it's all day. Get your hand off. Get your hands off. Looks at me. What's he doing? Every time my wife looks at my son and says, get your hands off, he looks right at me. Like, are you going to tell her? And I'm like, no, dude, you're on your own on this one, brother. But you'll notice I've never said a word to him because, and it's just a mom thing, I think. They're like, what? Why would you? Why? I don't know, babe. No idea. My hands are probably in my pants at that time. Sorry, graphic podcast warning. But well, I'm going to tell him not to do that. I'm going to tell him, hey, don't drink. Right? Things that are illegal for a child to do. But he walks in the room and he's going to be like, hey, dude, you're the one. I see you right now, Dad. You're the one who in front of mom and sister embarrassed me by saying hands off. So we're dealing with that. We've got that dynamic right now in the house that we're struggling with. But it's been a wild ride with the potty training. The kid we thought was going to be ridiculous with it ends up being the best one, of course. Now, what else would happen? Oh, hang on. Ryan just texted. Oh, hang on. He texted me about Critical Role. Look at this. There's the setup. He texted me about Critical Role forever ago. Let's read this again. 3:30. Are you a fan of Critical Role? I say absolutely love it. 8:40. I send him one. You? He finally has responded now. This is now 5 hours later. I was completely I don't know. Ryan, hopefully I can read this. I haven't pre-read it. I was completely unaware of them until I went to my first Comic-Con in 2017. I've listened to a little bit in the last few years. There's just so much content to consume. I do enjoy the storytelling. Have you seen the video that surfaced recently where Deborah Wool introduces John Berthnall from The Bear? And he says, both in the cast of the new Daredevil, Born Again series to D&D. It was pretty cool. I've seen the video on my YouTube homepage. I have not watched it yet. I do find him very intriguing. I enjoy him. I know him from a lot of movies, but I mainly know him recently from The Bear. And he said, I spent an hour this morning revisiting Critical Role's first campaign, and I might give it another shot. Ryan, do it. I'm on campaign 2. My brother and I are both on campaign 2. I'm on episode 28. I mean, it's endless content. These guys do 4-hour episodes, and they're 3 seasons deep. And each season is 100 episodes. So if you're trying to catch up, don't do that. Don't do it to catch up, Ryan. Just get into Critical Role to enjoy it at your own pace. My daughter is not into Critical Role, and she's also much better with going to the bathroom and wearing clothes than my son is. And we don't have any issues with her. But my daughter has hit this stage in life where we are now an art house. And I don't know if there's a pizza shop around town where I can go hang up her pictures and try to sell them for $325 like they do at every pizza shop. I feel like at least in Spokane, but I would like to be in on that because I have right now in my basement probably 500 pictures. I think I'm part owner of a paper mill with the amount of paper we've bought in the last few weeks. We've gone construction paper. We tried construction paper because I noticed it was cheaper It was on sale, but my daughter doesn't want that. She just wants white printer paper, and she paints 50 million pieces of art a day. And I can't even get mad about it because it's not like she paints one line on the piece of paper and then moves to the next piece. She fills the entire page with a design. Here's a sun that is purple, pink, and blue. Now, on the next page, here's a sun that's orange, green, and red. And then we can compare and contrast, and it's every single paper is filled. Now, my son will grab a piece of paper and take one moment away to take his hands off of his equipment and grab a marker, which he then draws. We know where he draws. And then he also takes a moment to draw one line on the piece of paper, and he's then done with his artwork. But he doesn't want another piece. He just wants to draw one line on a piece of paper and move on. But my daughter's so into it. We've got art everywhere. So I bring this story up to say we had that moment the other day that I'm sure a lot of parents deal with. My daughter had done a ton of artwork, and she had cut some stuff out, glued it together. She's got glue. She's getting really excited for school. We had to get her arts and crafts ready for school. And she made a bunch of stuff. And my wife, like any parent wants to do at some point, threw it away in the trash, right? Closed the trash thing, whatever. The only time in the history of our house that our daughter has dropped something on the ground and picked it up and thrown it away, ever. This was the only time. Normally, she'll drop a wrapper from fruit snacks, or she'll have cut up a bunch of paper and it drops on the ground. We're like, can you pick it up and throw it away? And she runs off and yells something inappropriate at us and about poop and pee and we're butt cheeks or whatever, and then runs to her room. The only time in the history she has, without being asked to, grab something to take to the trash was the time my wife threw away all of her art. And she opened the trash can. And I stood there. I didn't know there was in there. My wife did. And I saw my wife's face go into horror mode right before Olivia opened the trash can. And she was too far away. She yelled my name. I didn't know what was going on. And then I run over to Olivia. And as I run over, I see her opening it. And I can just see these masterpieces filling the entire trash can. And the amount of betrayal on my daughter's face was crazy. We absolutely kicked her when she was down right there. I mean, it was bad because my wife didn't bail it out with, let's get it out of there. She was like, Olivia, those ones were ruined, and we had to throw them away. It was a whole thing. We have to work through that now. So we've traumatized my daughter. My son is traumatizing my wife by just being a boy. We've traumatized my daughter. Woods is kind of just surviving right now. All right, he's just kind of surviving. Okay, so that's kind of the family check-in. That's where we're at right now. It's been great. For me, I've been, settling into the new job, settling into work. I kind of want to call one of my coworkers at some time without warning. They don't know. I don't think they know I do a podcast. They don't care. Like, why would they care? But I just want to call one and get like a report card. I need to call like Renner, this guy Renner, and just call him and say, "Hey, dude, you're on a podcast. How am I doing at work?" And get like a report card for a couple weeks in. I do know this. We got our office set up. So I have now an office. I have a desk. I share an office, big room with 3 guys or 2 other guys. There's 3 of us. And so I've got one corner of the room. There's 3 of the corners are being used by us, and I've got one of the corners. So I've got an L-shaped desk. It's a really nice desk, standing desk, which is cool. First half of the day, I've decided I'm going to stand. Second half, I'm going to sit. And the middle part, I'm going to sleep. So I got my desk set up, and on the standing desk, it's all the equipment and my keyboard and all that. But on the other side of the L that doesn't rise, I get to like make my desk, which at the radio station was filled with just absolute odds and ends crap, right? You never knew what was going to break out on the radio show. So it's like a bucket of ping pong balls that were numbered that we'd use from time to time. A Batman mask with the eyes covered in tape, and that was our blindfold if we ever did a game with blindfolds. We had a basket full of costumes on my desk. I had a ton of trivia cards from millions of games, just trivia cards all over my desk. There was a bunch of Seahawks stuff. There was a bunch of books and videos and stuff that listeners had brought us, a bunch of Christmas mugs from Lynn. Like, my office was just chaos, and it was great. But this is more professional. So what do you put on a professional desk? Here's what I've got right now. I took 2 things today. They don't really fit, but they're the 2 things I was excited about. I took my Eastern Eagle football helmet that I got from Eastern. Thank you. So I got my Eastern Eagle. It's a real actual football helmet. I have that on my desk. and I have the basketball. My wife, this was great. I forget who set this up, my wife or Andy and Jalen or somebody. At my 40th birthday party, there was a basketball there, and everyone who came to my 40th birthday party signed it. So it's just got tons of signatures. Some people wrote messages, and it's really special to me. So I brought that on my desk at work so that I can, if I'm having a moment, I can look over at the people that I love and just see their names on there. And those are the only things on my desk right now. And I don't know what you put on a desk. So what do you put on a desk, everyone? Right? I'm new to all this. A career change, a midlife crisis career change, leads to you learning everything that a lot of people learned at 20. Because again, I entered a world at 20 that's a land of make-believe and imagination. It's not a real place. Like, what? I can't, the Nerf guns, the actual Maverick Nerf guns, 3 of them that I had in my office when I did the sports show that were on my desk. I'm assuming I don't want to put 3 Maverick Nerf guns on my desk at a professional place. But that was perfect at the radio station because it was chaos. So help me out here. That could be like the question today if you want to get in the comments. Sean'sLife.com for the comments. Comment on Spotify. Comment on YouTube. Okay, I got to wrap up because Mike and Robin are coming over to play games tonight. I think they're going to be here any moment. So I got to wrap up with Kelly's What Are You Into?
Kelly's What Are You Into?
Okay, Kelly's What Are You Into? It is a device we have for my infant son. I don't know if you know what a nose Frida is. But these are these devices that my wife loved where you have to take your knees and pin your child down like you're going to torture them. Then you stick this little contraption in their nose. A tube comes out of it and you suck on it and it sucks the boogers out of their nose. It's disgusting. And my wife loves it. I think it's her, like people who, if you're a pimple popper, hands up to the rest of us, for the rest of you who love that with me. But this is like for the other thing. It'd be like, I love sucking the boogers out of my kid's nose. It's got that weird adrenaline rush tied to it, or you get some dopamine from it. And so I hate it because my kids scream through it the whole time. So I never really wanted to use it. Well, this is all changed because my wife got us a device that is electric. You no longer have to put your mouth on the end of a tube like you're siphoning gas out of a car. You just hit a button. It's got a nozzle on it, a little tiny pump in there to suck, that kind of suctions when it gets into the nose cavity really gently, and it will just suck the leakage out of my son Wood's nose. It is amazing. I never wanted to use the nose Frida on my other kids. This one, drop the saline drops in there, get this in there, and you can hear and you just know my son's breathing again. And it feels so good to do without feeling like you're torturing him. So I'd highly recommend it. I do not know what it's called, and I don't want to know the price, but I know that I loved it. All right, so Kelly's What Are You Into? These little electric nose sucker things for any of you who are thinking about having kids or have an infant. Let's get to the comments, shall we? We'll start with Ian. Hey, buddy. I feel your plight in regards to the shift from abnormal hour job to traditional hour he spelled it right. Traditional hour job. You used to work 12-hour rotating shifts, 3 to 3. Your biggest challenge is that you have 3 young kids in close age, all of whom are fighting for your time. I've resorted to letting the older ones stay up later Friday and Saturday. What matters is they are excited to see you and the fact that they are happy and healthy. I've been lucky with 2 of my kids liking things I like. This is huge, Ian. This is what I want. He goes on to say, this past vacation, we went everywhere my dad took me, and there were some of my fondest memories. From one dad of 3 to another, don't be too hard on yourself. I promise you're doing so much better than you realize until Bandit comes on screen and shows up. Oh, shows you up. Only reason I hate Bluey. Yeah, Bandit, dad of dads. The dad and Bluey, dad of dads. Ian, thank you for the kind words. Thank you. It's tough, right? I talked about it on the podcast. Trying to be a dad, trying to work, being tired when you get home. Tonight was nice. It wasn't nice because my wife left. We like it when my wife's home, but she went out and I got to be with the kids by myself for a little bit. And so it really forced me to be in because I couldn't just kind of coast a little bit with the we're both here kind of bouncing the kids off each other energy-wise. It forced me to kind of turn it on, and that was nice. So we had some fun tonight. Ron says this, finally tried birria tacos, and you were right. They are so good. Also, my favorite Vince Vaughn movie is Swingers. Ron, I've never seen it. Sorry. I need to. Heard great things. Also, your thoughts on Nick Cage playing John Madden? I think he will be amazing. Tomorrow I'm going back to the office after working from home for 4 years. Should be a fun change. Holy smokes. Ron, let me know how that goes. That's a long time. I'm in on Nick Cage playing John Madden. I love Nick Cage. I do. I love Nick Cage movies. I'm in on it. I think it'll be very fun. The size is the thing, right? I think Nick Cage can act it up, but the size is weird to me. I don't quite get that part of it because it does seem like you need to be a bit bigger than Nick Cage is. All right, Yvonne said this. Okay, hang on. I think this is new on Spotify. I've gotten a few Legos the past few years for my kids. The Hufflepuff, Crest, and Wolverine, which Zoe helped put together. So doing Legos as an adult is still fun. It's so fun. It's so fun. I actually just talked to Ian, who I work with. He and his wife put together Legos every now and then for fun at night, but they get the really fancy ones. He was telling me they get those flower ones. We're not talking about pirates and city Legos. These are Legos that you can actually display and they look cool. Anyways, Yvonne says yours is great. Butterfly Kisses was my wedding song for my second wedding since my dad passed away. Enjoy your workday. Yvonne, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Thank you for checking in. Is there anything else we need to accomplish? I got to go play games. I got to go save the world and play games. Let's see here. Was there anything on YouTube? Roberta said this. Hi, Jovi. Jovi was in the background on one of the episodes if you watch on YouTube. Hi, Jovi. Popcorn does demand sharing, you know. LOL. Field fires are horrendous. There isn't enough space here to write about ours. Oh, wow. Field fires from Miles' podcast. Crazy story. And Roberta went on to say, and Mark is right there with you on dad-daughter emotion. He used to cry every time Amanda left for college. Yeah. I mean, it's just, see my previous comments about Huck. He and I are boys. We are going to be thick as thieves. We're going to be best buds. I'm sorry, you don't cry when the guy who is just constantly hands on his wiener leaves the house. That's not the one you cry over. You miss him. It's more like you text him and be like, bro, get back here. Bro, when are you coming back to watch more sports, right? That's how that relationship goes. But my daughter, it's the heartstrings. It's the heartstrings. All right. I gotta go play games. I love you guys. Thanks for listening.